It's like Christmas. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Midlife Muscle and Strength podcast. It's Mickey Kilmartin with my boy.
JP Viansek.
We were just briefly talking about golfing and how bad I am at it and how marginally better JP is. It tied really well into what our conversation of today is going to be all about, which is consistency. And to be fair, we've talked about consistency on the show before a lot. You know, it comes up pretty often. But I don't think, and you can jump in here, JP, anytime, but I don't think we've ever gone down the rabbit hole or talked deeply about consistency with specific examples where it's like, I did this thing, maybe not even fitness wise, just anything, and I was consistent with it and that paid off. Because I tell people this all the time, clients that I work with, or even people who ask me oh, how do you do it? How do you stay in shape when you're 40 and going on 40 with kids? And I'm always like, I just never stop. It's like just consistency. It's a day in, day out thing. And that's made it easier. It's like, that's the superpower. There is no special sauce. It's just consistency. That's it. So I think today we're going to kind of jump into some examples of that to give some rock solid caveat or anecdotal evidence as consistency works. So what do you think, sir?
Yeah, I asked my wife this question. I'm like, who is the most in shape person you know? And it was just like, she mentioned someone. I'm like, they're the most consistent. Like, they wouldn't even, we talk about people that we train with. And I just say they consistently worked out, not necessarily they were following the best program, or they just had more workout days, or it's not even working out hard. We talked about overtraining and you can for 3 months work it out as hard as possible. It doesn't mean you get in shape in 3 months.
Yeah.
I think it's the people who were showed up every day and consistently, we'll talk about some habits in the gym and outside the gym. I think it's when you kind of blend those habits together and do it over a long period of time. Those will be the most in shape people, And it's just interesting talking to you see people interview people in the street who look in really good shape. You're like, hey, what do you do? What's your secret? And they're like, I eat healthy. I go to sleep.
Super boring. It's a super boring interview.
Boring. Yeah. It's but they just have done that for years or have that habits for the last 20 years. And I think everyone, especially with social media, is always trying to find that one, what's the new thing? What's going to get me over the edge of having a six pack? It's just do it for a long time. So I think the things that we talk about, I think it's just I know we've talked about this before, but I just think it's a huge piece people are missing. They're always trying to find that shiny new object. And it's just do the little things right. And that's stacking a bunch of little things up, simple, easy to digest little things consistently is what's going to get you the biggest results over a period of time.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And like I mentioned before, and you did too, this is inside and outside the gym stuff. So I'm going to, as we're talking, I have a few examples of stuff that's totally unfitness related, but it is the consistency that I use with whatever that activity was that paid off. There was no secret sauce. There was no 5-day fix. It was long, it's consistency over a long arc, over a long, long time with that end goal. If there is a goal, if it's, in mind, that there's no ooh, I did this one thing and it fix this. Yeah, that one thing was consistency. That's it. That's the secret sauce.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kick it off with a consistency thing that was kind of out of necessity. Back when I first started CrossFit, I hurt my ankle really bad. Number one, because I was squatting with poor form. Number two, I wasn't doing good mobility work, and I hurt my ankle bad enough where I could not do much lower body stuff. And as a new CrossFitter, when you're chomping at the bit and you're I want to be better at everything. So I was hurt, couldn't do lower body stuff. And handstand walking had started to become a thing because it was 2013, 2014. I had seen a few workouts in regionals and stuff where handstand walking was a big deal. Maybe it was 2012 before it had really become programmed a lot, but it was out there in the atmosphere of CrossFit. And I couldn't do anything with my lower body really that I considered worthwhile, but I could do stuff with my upper body. So I started just doing handstand walking every day, just practicing only 10 or 15 minutes after classes or when I had some time, maybe 30 minutes at the most. But I did it consistently for about, I'd say like 9 months. And to be honest, I didn't get more than like 5 or 10 steps for like 4 or 5 months. It was super frustrating, but I just like kept going back to the well and trying stuff out. And I really wasn't following a program or anything. I was just kicking up on my hands and trying different stuff, trying to get comfortable. And then over time, 5 feet turned to 10, 10 to 15, 20. And then like became very quickly the best person at handstand walking and being upside down in my class. And as it showed up later in like 2013, 2014, do you remember in regionals when there was that, I think it was 120-foot handstand walk as like the first day event? Do you remember that?
I vividly, I was not great at
Yeah.
it.
So I remember being so stoked because I was like, the stars have aligned. I've done this for the last, 12 or 18 months. I can't remember how long I've been doing it. And I cranked out 120 feet unbroken, which was like a massive score. At that time, there weren't a ton of people doing that. And I just remember thinking like, thank God I got hurt. Like I remember it was a crazy thing. Like I'm so glad I got hurt. So it forced me to do this one thing for so long. And that was, such an eye-opening thing that I just did handstand walks and practiced daily as long as I could without going crazy with it. And it just like all of a sudden clicked for me. And that was, massive in my CrossFit career. I was always good at handstand walks from there forward. And it was a huge help, like competitive wise.
Yeah, I was less consistent. I think I was like, oh crap, I got to do this like for this event.
Like 2 months out, you're like, oh, here it
Yeah,
goes.
like, oh man, I'll figure out day of. I'll be an athlete. That's cool. Yeah, that's I like that. Like just an injury can turn into like a great thing.
And by the way, like there wasn't any special drills or anything I was doing. I was just doing it. I was just practicing it, kicking up, being upside down, but just the consistent dose on a daily basis was what paid off.
Yeah, I love that. When I thought about consistency, I thought about obviously working out and where we are in life and stuff. And like I think something that I've always had is like in the environment to work out. Like just
That's
like
so good. That's such a good
having
one.
the gym equipment out, and like obviously we have garage gyms, but before I had a house, before we moved to North Carolina, like we had a gym in our living room. Like, and I love your story about like having like at your dad's bachelor pad, having like a universal gym. Where I think like people take their gym equipment, put it in the closet. You don't see it. It's not in front of you all the time. I think you should leave that stuff out.
Hmm.
I think it should be the opposite. You should put your TV in the closet, and then if you want to watch TV, you like got to go in, plug it in, take it out. Like it's just like more resistance there. But I think if your equipment's out and you're like, I didn't work out today. Like I walk in my garage, I'm like, I want to work out because all the equipment's here, and it's like just so easy to do.
Hmm.
Or make it like your gym routine, like you have your shoes in the car and you're going to work out. Like I've just always had the environment to be like, hey, like this is what I'm gonna do today, and no excuses.
Do you think also making a consistent like time to work out too? I think so. Consistency. There's a formula. Like when I did the handstand walk thing, I always just made sure I did it after class. So there was sort of like a routine I had built.
Yeah,
So it was like, I'm going to do this every time after class, just 10 or 15 minutes. Like every time I'm at the gym before I leave, I do 10 or 15 minutes. Do you think that like life's crazy, especially if you're a parent? Time's not always going to be perfect. So you might have to just snag a window of time when it's available. But do you think it's better to have like, I always work out at 4:45 a.m. and then that starts to build the consistency rather than I'll work out when I can?
yeah,
That's a very ambiguous and slippery slope if you start doing that.
yeah. Even for me, it's like ideally want to work out, when my son naps, but it's like doesn't always work out that way. So then if I miss that, then it's like okay, I'm stuck working out at night and I'm too tired. So that's like I might as well just wake up early and work out. I think there are seasons to it. I think it's like even being a parent is a season. Your kid's only young for a short amount of time, but I think it is important to carve out that time. And then it's important, have a specific time, but give yourself a little grace during those different seasons to be like, okay, I'm going to work out at night now, or I'm going to just try to get it in when I can. Um, so yeah, I think, even for me, it's like even the season of like the wintertime is like different type of consistency. Maybe it's just more focused on cardio than it is heavy lifting or whatever it might be, but I'm still consistent with my workouts.
Mm-hmm.
Just might be, changing the intensity different times a year.
Yeah, I like that. I think setting up the time what works for you, but also being flexible is kind of a good approach to it. I just feel that if you don't have some sort of like scheduled, like this is when I usually work out, you'll tend to not do it because you'll always find an excuse here that you're always going to be busy, especially as a parent. But even if you're not a parent, you just have a job and you got an appointment or you have this or that going on after work or before work. If you haven't picked the time and just sort of have that scheduled in, you're always going to be bumping that to the last thing on your list, because it's just not on the, it's usually not going to be on the top. It's not going to be the priority because you've got other things to do. So I love the idea of keeping your workout stuff out or at least visible somewhere. And then it's kind of calling you. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, look at every time I leave my house, I have to walk by this, like where I'm sitting out the garage and everything's just sitting there. And usually I'm walking to work and I'm just like, goodbye. And I'm like waving to myself, going to my car. But
Yeah.
if it's tucked away in the closet underneath a bunch of coats, it's like, oh, I don't want to pull that stuff out. It's underneath my winter stuff. I don't want to take the
Yeah.
dumbbells out. Um,
No, but yeah, I love like coupling it with like something you're already going to do,
that's a
like you said, you do class and then you do this,
um,
um,
so I think another thing about consistency, and I don't know about you, but I think that the dose doesn't have to be huge.
mm,
That's some of the secret sauce. I keep calling it secret sauce, but like I said, consistency for me for the last, I don't know how many years, 20, 30 years I've been working out. I can't even keep track anymore. It's just like the dose. If the dose is right, it doesn't have to be huge. That's the sweet spot. And the times in my life where the dose was wrong, consistency actually backfired because I should have slowed down and stepped away because I was doing 3, 4 hours at the gym. I shouldn't have been doing that much. That's a little bit, extra. But you don't have to do a lot to benefit a ton over the long term, but you have to have that long term in mind. And I think of this is like outside of the gym example, but for a year, and I should get back to this, but I'm making excuses, but I just kind of fallen off the wagon. I used to read 10 pages of a book a day, and I had made it so I basically was reading a book a month, but all I was reading was 10 pages
mm,
but I read every single day just 10 pages instead of sitting down and like binge reading 50, 60, 70 pages because I didn't have that kind of time. I was just reading either when I woke up for a few minutes or when I went to bed, but it was always just 10 pages.
yeah,
And this is when my kids were even younger. I think it was Hadley and Paisley were like 3 and 1. And I read a book a month for a whole year just by doing 10 pages a day. And I think that's a lesson you can take in the gym too. Like you don't need to do even an hour every single day. If you can't fit that in, if you can do 20 or 30 minutes every day or most days of the week, some sort of activity, especially if you're someone who's not super active already and you're starting your fitness journey, that compounding interest is insane for a whole year, 20 or 30 minutes a day. You'd be amazed at what you can get done in a year and how much progress you can make with only 20 or 30 minutes of consistent fitness.
I've had some of my most successful clients like just train 2 days a week, but they did it for
But they never stopped, right?
never stopped, and it's like they never missed those 2 days, like Tuesday, Thursday, like for years. And it's like they saw way more gains than someone who like worked out 5 days a week for a month, then stopped, and then jumped back on. Even people, it sounds crazy when you're like, "Hey, just do a 10-minute workout every day," and they're like, "What do you? That's not going to be enough." It's like, well, it's not going to be enough for one day, but then over 52 weeks, you're going to be doing way more time than someone who's less inconsistent. It's like the smaller dosage over a longer period of time is much more effective than huge dosage for a short amount of time.
And there's less burnout, right? If you
Yeah,
if you want to be consistent, it's got to be a dose that you can sustain consistently. Like if you're doing too much, you're going to fall off the wagon. Those people you talked about with 2 days a week, that's what they can sustain 2 days a week. But if they can do that forever, that's going to work. If you can do 3, okay, 4, or you do 7 days and you're only doing 15 or 20 minutes for 7 days a week and you can sustain that, that's your dose. That's your prescribed amount that you need and can stick with.
Yeah, I think that simple and repeatable is like huge. I think I've done, you know, I think I got really good at rowing, and I think I just did like 2,000 meters a day. Like, and I was in the gym all day as a coach, so like I just like sprinkled it in, but like that got me like really good at rowing.
For those of you who
Like,
aren't familiar with rowing, that's like 10 minutes at a slow pace. Like that's only about
yeah,
10 minutes on a rower.
yeah, it's not a lot, but I think I just did that like I didn't miss a day for like at least 6 7 months, and I didn't take it really hard. I didn't like try to blast through it, but I just did it every day. And just like form got a lot better. It was just easier for me to handle in workouts. I wasn't trying to like, PR my 2,000 meter row every day. It was just like easy row. Use it in a warm up or maybe in a cool down. And that was one thing that just got me like really good at it. So
Yeah, and that's did you also just you weren't afraid of the rower anymore, or not afraid, but every time rowing came up, you'd be like, "Oh, I do this every day." Like it just
yeah, like
became,
I like liked it.
yeah, it's,
I was like, oh, this is enjoyable.
yeah,
Like
that,
it was. I almost look at rowing as like a rest. I'm like, oh, good. I get the rest on the rower.
yeah, that's the I think that's another example of like the secret sauce of especially CrossFit athletes or competitive athletes. If you do, it doesn't have to be hard stuff, but if you do something like that most people are like, "Oh, yuck! Like I don't want to run," or "I hate burpees," things like that. If you just do that kind of
Yeah.
stuff consistently and make it mentally it's so much easier for yourself. You just look at I used to do burpees a ton. Just like in my warm-ups, I do an EMOM or five or 10 burpees back in the day for CrossFit stuff. So whenever it came up, I was like, oh, this is nothing. Like I can do 50 to 100 burpees in 5 to 10 minutes. Like I'm in my sleep. So I'm not worried if there's a few burpees in a workout.
Yeah, I think it's like easy to kind of pick a movement and just kind of do that consistently for 30 to 60 days and um, get you a lot more comfortable with it. So,
Now, have you done consistency stuff with nutrition? Because if I'm going to be honest, that might be one of the things that was hardest for me as I've gotten older is nutrition consistently things. That's
I
that's a,
think,
that's a hard one I
I,
think for a lot of people actually.
yeah, I consistently always made my food. So, like, I never
Oh
like
wow. Okay,
went,
that's
like, I always like Sunday prepped. Like, when we were at the gym, it was always like Sunday was like a 2 3 hour prep day and had a lot of food. And it wasn't like, and then as kind of had a family, like we always just make our food. Not saying we never go out to eat, but it's like once a month. It's not like, I'm not relying on breakfast out every single day.
hmm
Uh, I just went on a little trip and I really value healthy food because this
hmm
was just like
yeah,
junk food.
all
Like
the
almost,
time.
yeah. And like every meal, it was like breakfast was like a buffet. It was just like bad quality food. And I was like,
Powdered
fine.
eggs and all
I was
that.
like, fine
Yeah.
the first day. The second day, I was like, I can't eat this. And then the third day, I was like, I didn't eat. I was like, this is like
I will
terrible.
be fasting today.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, it just like makes you value like, wow, I really like cooking my own food and prepping it. It's a lot of work. But I just like, I've done it for so long that like getting out of that environment, I was like, oh man, I don't want to do
So,
that.
for people who are like trying to get more consistent with food, I didn't even think of this angle, but this is a great one. You'd say like making your own food is like
Make
if
your
you
own
can
food.
consistently cook your own food, that's a good way to tackle nutrition. If nutrition or diet or food is one of your things that you're struggling with, making your own food
Yeah.
seems like a no
Because
brainer. But a lot of people do they eat out almost all of their meals, which is really hard to do healthily. Like you can't do that healthy, honestly.
very difficult. And I think you find out what works for you, what you like, what you don't like. And I think like, kind of going nutrition side, but it's like if you like Chipotle, just make a Chipotle bowl at home. Like you have all the ingredients you can make,
Hmm
add in what you like, what you don't like. I think like cooking from home I would start there over like, trying to change what people are eating at
Or
first. Like
change
just make it,
macros and all that kind of crazy
yeah,
stuff.
just cook it yourself. You see what goes into it, you see how to make it, and then you learn, you get better at cooking. I think cooking is a skill that people don't value or don't see as a skill. It's like, oh, I got to cook. It's like it like you make a first. We make our first meal. It stinks. It's like, okay, I want to change. I want to caramelize the onions instead of leaving them raw or whatever it might be, even in a crock pot. Like I'm going to cook the meat before and not just like let it cook in there, like how it comes out. So you can kind of like change some things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great way to like be consistent with your food, is like make it yourself, and then find out what you like, get like 4 or 5 meals you're like, I love these, and then kind of stick to those, and then experiment with like 2 or 3 outside that. I think is like something that's just helped me with my food and to stay consistent with. And then you can obviously like tweak, like, okay, how many carbs am I having, or am I working out more? Maybe I need to eat a little more carbs, or how's my protein? You can kind of like tweak those, but I think like making it yourself is like a big step to be consistent.
Yeah, that's so I didn't even think of it from that angle, like I said, but there's nothing worse than like a travel weekend and you come home as a family and you haven't been able to like food prep on Sunday and you go into Monday just winging it, and it's always a train wreck express. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, scrambled eggs, and then oh gosh, and it ends up you do your best, but a lot of times it's just not ideal nutrition wise, and you can feel it. You're looking around at the meals you have available, and for a non-food prep week, it's not great.
No.
For me, the consistency part that's always been difficult is I'm not like a binge purge kind of eater, anything like that. And people who have, if you have, eating problems, if you've had eating disorder, or just like your relationship with food is tough, I think, like you said, going with a simple approach, like making your own food first, rather than, I think people get really overwhelmed with fitness or with nutrition and how it ties into fitness or diet if they're trying to lose weight and they've never really been able to do that. And I think just by making your own food, that's like a huge first step. And then you can get more consistent with, all right, I need 180 grams of carbs. I need 100 grams of protein or
I
whatever.
can't even tell you I do that consistently.
Yeah, no, but it's like if you want to go down that road, you got to start somewhere. You can't start there because you're never going to maintain that consistently, right? You've got to start with like, I'm making my food this week. Just me. I'm not going to get Dunkin' Donuts on the drive-through. I'm not going to grab a snack at the gas station because I forgot. That's the first thing. Like, I just make my food, and then you can build off of that consistency-wise with more specifics within it, which I think is a good overarching message for like this consistency episode is like start small, and then you can make it more intricate. You can add details to it. But if you start too far down that end, you're setting yourself up for failure, and you won't be consistent, right? Because like you said, right now you probably don't really think too much about macros or micronutrients. You kind of have a big picture. You're just like, I just cook for myself, and that alone is really the focal point of my consistency with food.
Yeah, if I don't make it, I don't eat it. So it's like keeps it pretty simple.
Yeah, some people probably can't imagine that. Like not like cooking every meal and not eating something out. That's some people don't do that, and it's probably saves you money and also nutrition wise way more beneficial.
Yeah, I think it's just a skill though. It's like it's tough to start with. It's like, what am I going to get at a grocery store? Did I get enough? Like it's just like some things you have to practice. But I think like it's that's a skill I like to teach my kids, is like how to cook for yourself.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people, like, even for me, like I came out of college and like I don't know what to cook. Like I don't
scrambled eggs was all I could make.
Yeah.
I remember making scrambled eggs and eating tuna fish when I was like 22.
I think I did crock pot. I did like beef, peppers, onions in a crock pot for like years.
A decade before you found your wife.
And then I'm like,
please help me.
Good thing I married an Italian woman who can cook for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I think it's just that was a big one. And I think like on the other side would be like something I've been very consistent with is like my sleep schedule. And I think I've been better with it even with kids. I think they kind of put me on a schedule. So then, but I think like sleep and recovery is like huge to start with. Almost I'd even tell people that might be even more important than working. Not more important than working out, but like being well rested allows you to work out more. I think some people start a workout program and they're so tired and they don't get good sleep that they're like, you can't stay consistent on that. I think that's like the two foundations for me would be my sleep and my food. If those two aren't grooving together, like the workouts fall off. So it's like some people try to start with their workouts. It's like, get your sleep and get your food going first. Yeah. That's what's going to allow you.
Yeah. The sleep thing is, oftentimes, and we've talked about how important it is, but it's always put on the back burner. It's like all the other stuff is a focus, and it's like I'll sleep when I can. It's like that should be the first, and then the other stuff like comes after.
Yeah.
And I've honestly not been good about it over the years of having kids because I'm so consistent about like working out that I sometimes probably worked out when I didn't have a ton of sleep. And I know we talked about our guy Warren the other day, and we talked, a couple episodes ago we had him on, and he kind of mentioned, you know, he's done a lot of stuff on minimal sleep, and that's all fine and good. But I think that stuff kind of happens. He's talking about isolated incidents like working out on little sleep and performing still well. I don't think for the long term you want to say I can do 4 to 5 hours of sleep and do well. Just for your overall health, because I think a lot of things will start to fall off the rails if you're not sleeping well. So sleep and rest is so important, right? If you get a good night's sleep, it's amazing how different you feel versus a night of minimal or bad sleep. I remember one time I was training with, you weren't there, but it was at the time we were training really hard, and I had to go to a bachelor party. And at the time, I still don't drink, but I didn't drink at all. But I was just up super late. I think it was up till 2 in the morning, and I had to get up really early to drive back to the gym to train with everybody. I think I slept like 4 hours, and I performed so poorly. It was insane. I felt like I had been drinking alcohol, but I was not at all. I just was so tired that my body was functioning at like 60%.
Yeah.
And it was one of those eye-opening things where I was like, wow, sleep is so important. If you don't get sleep, you really cannot perform at all.
And it's not like a one for one. Like you have a bad night's sleep. It's not like next day I get good sleep. It's like 2 or 3 days of good sleep equals one bad sleep. So it's like you have to just do it consistently. Again, like the whole point of this podcast
Mm-hmm.
is just to be consistent with it. But like I am usually in bed between 7:30 and 8 every night.
And then I send you a voice note at 8:30.
Yeah, I'm like, Mickey, I'm sleeping.
I'm walking my
I
dog.
don't, I don't have my food. I don't have my phone with me. So. Um, but yeah, I think like just like getting on like, I mean, that might be extreme or sound extreme for some people, but if I'm up at 4, like I got to be getting to bed early.
Yeah, do the math.
Yeah. So
Four,
it's like
that's 8 hours, 7 or 8 hours of sleep, which is kind of
yeah,
the minimum, really, right?
you can't do it all, So pick and choose your battles a little bit, but that's kind of what works for me in this season of life. So I go to bed early. Um, but yeah, I think
So
like the sleep and food
I think like with
are
all
big.
these things, that's kind of been coming up in my mind as we're talking about it is like consistency. You have to play the long game. I think a lot of people are good at being consistent for a short period of time. Maybe not even that. Like I'm talking, some people are consistent for a couple of weeks to a month, and that seems daunting to them. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've been doing fill in the blank for a month every day, or for a month consistently." It's like for that big question that I get, and I'm sure you get a lot from people who are about our age or maybe a little bit older, or maybe even younger. It's like, how do you do it? It's like I've been doing this for, I can't even keep track of how long. I've just been working out consistently and been focused on health and being well, right? Like there's never been, oh, I fell off the wagon for a year. That's never happened. Not even, I can't even remember like a week where I wasn't pretty focused on like, all right, I might not be working out crazy hard, but I'm going to do something. I'm going to sweat. I'm going to move my body around. Um, so I just think that you have to have that long game in mind if you want to be really consistent, because you can't just do it for a month. You can't just do it even for like 6 months. You can have little goals like I did with the handstand walking thing and accomplish a lot. But if you're talking about the big question of how do you stay fit and healthy for life, you have to do it for your whole life. You can't, I shouldn't say you can't, but you should try to avoid these peaks and valleys where it's like on the wagon, off the wagon, on the wagon, because that's really not going to be it. You've got to have this long game and goal. Like I always think about, I talk to people, I'm like, I'm going to be working out till I'll be 85, 90. Whenever I croak, like I'll probably have a kettlebell in my hand or something. They're going to come find me and I'll just be like laying there. Because I think that's how you have to think about these things if you want it to work and pay off. And that might seem like, oh my gosh, seriously? Like I'm not even going to start, but that's just how I think you have to approach it.
Yeah, and I think like working out wise, when we talk about it, it's like okay, you're probably working out 4 times a week, maybe. But there's 21 meals and there's so many hours of sleep. Like I think the
Yeah.
consistency with those things are like, you know, easier and more, you just have to be consistent with it. But I think like the mix of the sleep, the food and working out, like you just, don't have to go crazy at any one of them. You just have to be like steady. Like, you know, we talked about like with Warren, like he's just steady with everything he's done. He's probably ramped up in the last couple of years, like with the games and stuff like that. But I just love talking to people who are in shape, in their 60s, and it's like, what were you doing in your 40s and 50s? And like the same story is like I was consistently moving or being healthy. It wasn't just like, people flipping a switch and be like, in 1 year I got in the best shape of my like, you know, unbelievable. It's like over the last, he gave himself 2 years to get in, the best shape of his life, so it's just like consistency over time. I think people just want to be consistent for a month and be like, where's my results? It's like you have clients all the time who are like, hey, where's my six pack? I've been eating healthy for 2 weeks. It's like, well, it takes a little longer than that. It takes, but I think people, like you said, like people don't want to wait or have the time for it. So, but I think it's a battle worth fighting and something I'll always be striving for. So I'll just keep doing it. But that's my why. It might, I think you have to have a good why to be consistent as well.
Yeah, it gives you that intrinsic value, that intrinsic reason why, rather than something superficial.
Yeah.
And like kind of to wrap up, uh, I don't want it to sound like consistency is overwhelming or like too much for someone to do, or even it's never too late either to be consistent. You could be in your 40s, 50s, 60s, never having done fitness, and then start for your next 20 years and be consistent for that next segment of life, for that next part of life. Um, but I think you've got to start at some point, because if you never start, it never happens. And just keep in mind those things that we talked about in terms of make the dose manageable, make it something that, like you just mentioned, that you had to have a why, and make sure that it's consistent, whether it's daily, weekly, whatever it is. That's the secret sauce. The consistency is the secret sauce. There is no quick fix, 1 month, anything. It's not month, it's years, decades. That's how you make it happen. And like you said, a guy like Warren's perfect example. We're a good example, as much as we try to be modest. But I mean, when did you start working out? When you were in your teens, probably.
13.
Yeah, that's same to me. About 13 years old, when my dad put that good old universal weight machine in the dining room. That's the stuff. That's the secret sauce. Whenever people ask me, and all my neighbors think I'm crazy because I'm out in my garage at 5:40 or 5 a.m. every morning, and they're driving to work. They're like, "What is this guy doing
Yeah.
every day?" So, if someone wants to get consistent, JP, with their fitness, where can they find you?
JP Wiz on Instagram.
JP Wiz on Instagram. He's leaning into the golf these days, but he will take on any clients, any athletes, anybody who wants to get fit. And you can find me at the Dadbod Chronicles on Instagram as well. Neither of us have Facebook anymore. There's no more Powerflex Wizard. That has been retired. Come back as a t-shirt. Maybe. I might have Shannon make you a t-shirt, Powerflex Wizard t-shirt with just your face on Arnold Schwarzenegger's body with a wizard hat on.
Wizard hat.
We'll talk to everybody next time. See you.